Hello and welcome. You're tuned to the League Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, joined by the usual suspects in studio, Paul Moati and Stephen Hunt. Morning, boys. Morning, Paul.
Morning.
How are you?
Yeah, very, very good.
You had a good week?
Well, it was a very, very busy weekend. Last weekend, domestic-wise, 3 thoroughbred meetings on the Saturday.
Yeah. Busy day.
Well, not for me. Didn't get off the couch.
Exactly. Morning, Stephen. Yeah,
Morning,
busy
James.
day.
Yeah, 3 meetings on a Saturday. Doesn't happen often. Tadapa, first and foremost. I thought Puketiro was probably the standout in a 3-year-old sprint. Very attractive on the eye. The clock was okay, but you've got to trust the eye with her, and she looks to be one of the top seeds heading towards the Cambridge Breeders next weekend at Saturday, which should be a stellar field. And Fierce Flight in the Central Districts, the Hawke's Bay Cup. Gee, it'd have to be one of the most improved gallopers this season. Prior to Christmas, I had him fairly static at that 65 grade, with not too much improvement, but prior or post-Christmas, he's placed in a St Ledger, a Nathan's Memorial at Tadapa, and then winning the Hawke's Bay Cup last Saturday. So, not sure where his ceiling is, but as I say, he's one of the most improved gallopers this season, is Fierce Flight, and maybe a liver mile possibly, 2,000 metres and a week liver mile. We know that thins out closer to race start, so look, he's got some cup races. I'm sure they'll pencil in next season, Fierce Flight. Also, the Poverty Bay Cup. Earlier in the cut, I think that form will hold up. It was a 75 grade race, but with the likes of Aveline, Nestig and Vespasian, I think those 3 are worth following if they continue to progress towards the winter in their right grade. It did rate very well, the Poverty Bay Cup. So, look, overall, I thought the 2 Northern meetings were pretty good cards, and there'll be a few horses to follow in the next weeks.
Yeah, okay, let's head north to Hamilton and say good morning to a very happy Brendan Popperwell. Morning, BP.
Good morning. Yes, there's a lot of reasons to be happy, isn't there? Waking up this morning, and of course with big Warriors news with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck coming back. That was massive, lads, wasn't it? Hearing that around Roger coming back, so that's huge for the Warriors for 2024. But yeah, it was a busy weekend last week, wasn't it? With those 3 meetings on, and look, we were really stretched in terms of jockeys, and thankfully it probably doesn't happen too often that we have the 3 meetings, but even swapping codes, I thought the Grins night was super as well on the Friday night out at Cambridge Raceway. That was a real win for the club there. They did a super job with the crowd on track and really enjoying the evening. So yeah, good weekend, and we've got a massive one coming up on Saturday out of Pukekohe Park, but I guess it's a little bit of a weather watch for that particular race meeting.
Yeah, 100% we'll get to that. Shame we can't get Rog back to the Warriors now.
Get him in there now.
Can't we get him in?
Well, he's not going to the World Cup, is he?
Well,
Hey?
yeah.
We would just slide him in.
Well, who would miss out?
Would he go centre? Would they try and slot him in at centre?
Oh, he'll be in the centres for the Warriors.
Chance will play centre, and I reckon Roger will play fullback.
Yeah, he's got to go back to fullback.
Clockstad played centre for the Kiwis, didn't he, during the World Cup? Or at least leading up towards the World Cup. So I reckon that would be the option.
Gee, I got them the other way.
Okay. Perhaps we need a league show because we have a look at our best bet recap from last week. You might see why.
All right, let's go to the weekend, and we'll go to Hawke's Bay, race number 6. Don't mind the chances here of not guilty. A horse that was super, I thought, in the Lightning last time to the races when defeated into 3rd position.
Not guilty starting to charge, and a race, big finish, Pure and Kando. Not guilty after it, very strongly, Pure and Kando in front and home. And Pure and Kando will be not guilty.
Oh, I'm going to Hastings as well, and the Get Out Stakes, last race of the day, race 8. And I like the look of Wet and Wild, trained by Cody Cole.
Now Raikkonen out wide, still there, strains up the inside and Screaming Eagle down to the line though, they hit it. He's Beset too good. He's Beset will win the last from either Raikkonen, Screaming Eagle and Strange Love. Then Wet and Wild and Mozzie behind them.
We'll go to Tadapa. Again, you have to wait to the last race 8. The rating 75 miles, Xantabulous.
Xantabulous can't get to them down the outside. Mayolamus and Outback Opal into the fight late, but the leader here, Blue Moon, a length. Outback Opal is coming quickly. Here's Outback Opal. Outback Opal over top does it again. Outback Opal to beat Blue Moon, and 3rd Mayolamus. Eyes Only on Me was rushing home, as to Zataku. Then Xantabulous.
Edward Cossey again?
I think so. Yeah, and maybe a little short ball from Johnson to Josh Curran for a little try as well at 4:33.
PP, Nostradamus. There were the league tipping on Saturday, but unfortunately not guilty. Didn't quite get the run we expected.
Yes, that was unfortunate, wasn't it? Yeah, look, it was great being at the game. And there was at Mount Smart on Saturday, and a couple of little leg uppers. Gave us a little high five when leaving Mount Smart around the Josh Curran Fall 33. So a salute to them to getting on board. And Edward Corsi just loves to try at the moment, and let's hope he can turn around his form from 12 months ago against the Melbourne Storm, where he had a horror. And I must say, it's been great how he's turned around his form to where he's sitting in 2023. So, yeah, the lads are going good, aren't they? They're really in super form at the moment, the Warriors.
Well done, BP. Right, the first race we're going to look at is
exactly. Hang on.
Broncos.
I'm not even talking about turning around form. You boys, I'm not even going to come to you, lads. You're going to just have to turn around your form before the end of the show. So we're waiting with your best bets on the top of the hour. BP, we'll come back to you. Maiden of the week time, please.
Yeah, I've gone to the first race out of Hawke's Bay, and look, I'll be honest, I was on the second horse in this race, in Mr. Bully T, and it just gets beaten by Charlie Chuckle on this occasion. Charlie Chuckle comes out of a trailing spot. Mr. Bully T, I've just been wondering where this horse was, to be honest. I thought he'd been sold off the back of his two really good runs out of Hawke's Bay, but he produced in this race. Gee, he'll be going close shortly, won't he, Mr. Bully T? And what about the third horse, Don Paulie, coming from back in the race to finish into third position? That can't be too far away from getting the job done. So I think overall, I think we can follow those first three runners with a little bit of confidence. Ricorsi was good just in behind, finishing into that fourth spot too. So I think there's a bit to follow out of that maiden race.
100%. Well, they rate Mr. Bully T a little bit, Steve, and Charlie Chuckle managed to get over the top, so that was a good effort.
Yeah, I think the first three are definitely worth following going forward. Just on the winner, looking at the mare, Chuckle, a daughter by Dane Hill. Now, there wouldn't be too many Dane Hill mares still producing. She's a 23-year-old mare, Chuckle. And I think from last time I checked, she roughly had 13 or 14 live foals. 3 stakes winners she's left, the mare. But it always goes back to that conversation when you're discussing around breeders and whatnot. Do older mares produce just as well as younger mares? And there's always that myth that possibly younger mares produce better quality foals and racehorses earlier in their breeding career v older mares, and I've never seen data to back that myth up, but obviously Chuckle proving that an older mare can still deliver a decent horse on the track, and whether it goes through the grades remains to be seen, but Chuckle's been a nice brood mare nevertheless, and has left 3 stakes winners, possibly, or hopefully for Connections, number 4.
Yeah, okay, she's bucking the trend as Chuckle. Okay, team, you've given us a possible task today, Steve. We're trying to get through 5 races at Pukekohe and Riccarton. Yeah, exactly. Well, we better get to track conditions first. For Pukekohe, what are we going to be playing on?
So it's overcast at the moment. Currently a good 4. The rail back in the true position, and the last time the rail was in the true position was Auckland Cup Day last month. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago. Obviously it was Breeders' Day. The rail was out 4 metres, and I think the track played somewhere between a 4 and a 5 that day. But look, the big question mark, BP's already alluded on it, in terms of the weather. There's rain forecasted today and also on race day. So look, I doubt it will be in that good range. It's just depending on how much rain falls on race day, where we get to. But look, somewhere hopefully around that 7 soft track. But I guess it could even hit a heavy track later in the afternoon.
Okay, let's get to the main event on the day. It's race number 8 on the card, the Manco Easter Handicap Group 3 over the 1,600 metres, Steve. And as you'd expect, a pretty wide open market.
Yeah, Havana heads the market, $4.50 out to 4.8, but not friendless. In front of Tavra Attack at $6. She has that second line White Noise, who has been a firmer, $6.50 into 6. Moroni, 6 out to 7. Maria Farina, solid at the $10 quote. She has that price with Bella the Ball. Uderzo, 26 into 13, so half the quote Uderzo on the minimum. And Fashion Shoot at a $14 price, and best of the rest is the Perfect Pink at 16. So a couple of firmers there, one of them being White Noise and also Uderzo in the middle market, but there's a nice spread of money on half a dozen runners. Okay,
very interesting. As you'd expect, a wide open field. How do we map this race, Steve? Because, plenty of runners to sort of try and line up here.
Yeah, tricky. Look, I think there's a few horses here that are drawn an ideal gate that will look to try and hold a spot, one of them being White Noise, who has tactical speed. Habana and Dragon Queen also have tactical speed. They'll try and utilise a nice draw. Moroni and Thunder probably don't have the speed from the first furlong or two to hold a position in front of Habana and Dragon Queen. So I think they'll try and find a position just forward to midfield. No Loitering El Vencedor, both drawn sticky wide gates. I think they'll look to go forward. El Vencedor in particular with Tegan Newman doing the riding. So I've got those two mapping 1-2, and which will ignite a little bit of speed purely because they've drawn wide gates for the first furlong or two. Bella the Ball, Maria Farini, you see at the top of the screen there, will default back to the last third from an outside gate. Outside that, your Durzo should sit round about midfield, a little bit of cover, as is Tava Attack and also Fashion Shoot. But look, overall, I think the tempo will be even with initial speed from no loitering and Al Vencedor coming from wide gates.
Yeah, okay, BP. Look, Habana has been absolutely flying, and I mean, you just have a look at its last start win there at Pukekohe over the rating 86. We've got a few of those favourites coming out of that race, but I think the deserved favourite is Habana here.
You're right. I mean, named after a flying South African winger and a flying South African jockey takes the rider board. Habana loves winning at this venue. I mean, he's 4 from 4 here out of county, so he's loving the fact that the Manco Easter handicap is here at this venue. And on this occasion, he went up in weight, didn't he? He went up to 58.5 kilos, and there was a little bit against him in this particular race. He was, you know, we all knew that the Easter was on the radar, and I guess there was that unknown factor of him going up in weight and just what he might be able to produce here. But look, he was very good, and what I will say is he got very strong in that market, didn't he? And I remember when we previewed this race a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about weather a lot, and that weather never actually eventuated, and the track got into that position where it was a good surface, where again, here we are 2 weeks on, still trying to talk about weather because we don't know how much rain's going to fall and how much an effect it's going to have on not just this runner but all runners through this race and throughout the day. So that's going to make it a minefield, isn't it, trying to nail down selections for this race at 8 minutes past 4 tomorrow. But he seems to be in the right spot, doesn't he? He drops 1.5 kilos on that particular run. I do like White Noise out of that same race because he's also dropping in weight. Look, he drops 3.5 kilos on that, and we know with White Noise, if that rain does come about, it's not much of an issue for him. We've seen him get through track conditions that have been rated in that heavy bracket, so I'm almost gravitating towards him, but I still like Habana because he's in that winning groove. So a lot to unfold here around the race, but yeah, I think that race is a good one, and especially Bella the Ball with how the horse got home. Very fast through the line, ran all the right sectionals. The problem for her, though, is if that track gets beyond a 7, that becomes problematic.
Yeah, okay, one horse that probably won't mind it, Paul, Tav Attack, and that win in the flying handicap at Awapuni last time, very strong. When Alan Sharrock travels, you want to sit up and take notice.
Yeah, you certainly do. In fact, I think he bookended this race, didn't he? Tav Attack first and Seamus at the tail of the field. But Craig Grills gave Tav Attack an absolute gem of a ride here. Settled back, put to sleep, found the space on the inside there. And then when he did find that space, just let him go. And Tav Attack did the business in the end. So I actually do like the look of Tav Attack here, currently $6. I agree with BP. Habana has looked very, very impressive over the last few years. Look, loves counties. In fact, has probably had more success at counties than Jonah Lomu. So Habana certainly right in there, and I can see it's solid in the market as well at $4.80. But yeah, Tav Attack and Alan Sharrock, you know, you just can't turn away.
Money on too.
Yeah, that's always a good indication.
Wouldn't want any worse than a 7 Tav Attack.
Oh, I
so I reckon the connections will be watching the weather very closely. I think ideally somewhere between now a good 4 and a 7 might be at his peak, Tav Attack. So
Okay.
I think they'll roll the dice and run him, but I'm not sure above a 7 in terms of a pentrometer reading for Tav
Okay.
Attack.
Japan Trophy race. BP bought us Moroni and Gino Severini. Moroni has a bit of a task on its hands, albeit second up with got the 60 kg in top weight.
He does. He does seem to be a horse that can carry weight, though, doesn't he? Look, he ran such a big race first up to the races when he carried 60.5 kilograms. Just purely on his weight, I don't want to drop him just for that reason, because I know he's a tough horse, he's a tough competitor, and he'll get through track conditions that will be on the yielding side if it does get that way. So, yep, he's up 4 kilos on this run, where he's run second in the Japan Trophy when beaten by Brando. Look, Brando form's been franked out of that race, as we all know. And the third horse, Gino Severini, well, he's produced a couple of pearlers, hasn't he? all of a sudden his form line was looking like it was full of donuts and pretzels, and now all of a sudden he's got 2 3s in front of his name, and he's starting to rediscover his form again, is Gino Severini. Look, the one time where the track did get out to a heavy nature was when he did win the Japan Trophy last year. So, look, I'm always concerned when it does sort of get wet for him, but he's getting his best form back again.
100% he is. He's heading that way. Look, we've got another race replay here, Steve. You wanted to show us a rating 75-year-old horse ran 6th in a Durzo.
Yeah, this was last week. I think it's a strong race going forward in the right grade. Obviously, it had Zantabulous in it, a couple of other horses that made ground late. Your Durzo here leading, coming around the turn, possibly in the IG, just had to drag the rest of the field up. You see there, they've gone to the 600 okay, a fraction below open class. They've come home really strong, 36 and change, and the overall class rating was above par, 1.5 lengths. What I want to touch on in your Durzo is on the quick backup, the 7-day backup. If we're going to get a genuine soft/heavy track tomorrow at Pukekohe, I'm looking for those horses that are on the quick backup over 1600 or beyond. Those races, and we're seeing the Easter Handicap obviously run at a mile. Your Durzo on the quick backup. Yes, on that rating and on his latest figures in terms of PBs, etc., he needs to improve a couple lengths. But that day, last Saturday, he carried 60 kilograms. He drops to the minimum 53, and with that weight allowance or adjustment, he doesn't have to find a huge amount. And as I always go back to, I'm just identifying these horses on the quick backup that run at Te Rapa, performing over 16 or beyond on Saturday. I think that's a double tick, and that's why your Durzo, no surprise, has been a firmer 20 odd into $13. So
that's a significant move.
It is. I'd say it's a little bit of smart money around it. It's not just pure volume of money around your Durzo, and it's obviously just a bit of a readjustment from our end as well here in Petone. But look, these open handicaps, it's always interesting trying to look for those weight adjustments, those horses that might not have the figures in terms of raw, but come into it well off in the weights compared to some other rivals. Like Moroni, you go back to him, 60 kegs. I tried to go back to recent history, or even going back further, the last 20, 30 years, trying to find the last horse to carry 60 and above and win the Easter Handicap. I had to go back to the 70s, Grey Way, in 1977. Now, I don't know how many...
You remember it well, Paul.
You got skeletons?
You look a bit like him now.
Fair, thank you.
I don't know how many horses have run at 60 and above in the Easter Handicap. I know it was a set weights and penalties a few years ago, and you had likes of the Veyron carrying 59. I think Endless Drama carried 59, but they're a genuine weight for age horses carrying big weights and winning the Easter Handicap. I'm just not sure Moroni's at that level. I wouldn't declare him as a weight for age galloper. So to carry 60 and beat these horses who are not far off them in terms of figures, I think it's a big task. I've got him marked at double figures, Moroni.
Okay, Paul, I want to talk about Maria Farina because she's certainly been in good form. She steps to the mile for the first time, which might be a touch of a concern.
I don't think it is a concern.
Okay, good.
Myself, and I thought that run in the was it the Bramco and Marble Flying Handicap in behind Tavatak, I thought that was sensational. I think she recorded the fastest last 200 metre sectional there, and she beat the likes of Not Guilty, who fortunately for BP was didn't quite get there in the air, but she beat Not Guilty at Trentham. Look, she's got the wide gate.
Yeah.
She's going to get back anyway. She gets back in her races anyway. So, yeah, I think Sam will have her ready to go as they come round the turn. So
She'll get them all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She'll get them all.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
no
so.
problem.
Being by contributor, you go back that last start in the Flying Stakes, they've run above even tempo to the 600. And she's recorded the fastest last 200, not just in the meeting on the day. And she had to cover a lot more ground. You look at the runs that the likes of Tavatak had, cut the corner, was 3-4 back rail, didn't cover any extra ground, where Maria Farina had to go wide, flushed, come down the middle part of the track and still ran third. I thought it was probably the run of the race, even outside the fave.
Okay, she hasn't drawn inside 12 her last 3 starts, so
No, you're right.
being outside there...
She's used to it.
Well, yes,
Might
exactly.
be advantageous later in the day.
Make a good point if this rain arrives. Well, what are you going to do, Paul, on this Easter Handicap?
Look, I do like Habana, so I've got him on top, but I've got to have Maria Farina in there somewhere.
Okay, you're thinking power play maybe potentially as well. BP will come to you to summarise the Manco Easter. Tricky race to having a bet into, but that's the challenge, isn't it?
It is. I like White Noise. I'm happy to be with him. I thought he was a prospect in the race with where he sits. He should be ready to go. He dropped some weight on his last run. Look, I still think Habana's a decent shot in the race as well. I think you're right about Maria Farina. I think she looks to be a good top 3, top 4 chance in the race. I think she's the one that you have to be looking out for late. If she's saved up for that one run, we know how devastating she is when she shows that turn of foot. And the other horse, look, it doesn't have a jockey, Thunder. Now, he's a horse he'll like if the rain comes, and he's drawn low, and he just might be one of those horses that sits 3 or 4 deep the fence, does no work, and comes out late and flies at them. We so often see in this type of race where, you know, horses that pay $8 plus for a place can fill the placings in an Easter, and he just might have that soft run in the race compared to last start where it just never really eventuated for him, where he was back and he was slow, and it was a yuck race for him really when he was beaten behind Habana. He just might get a cushy trip in the race and do no work and fill maybe a top 3 or top 4 placing.
Okay, BP with White Noise. There is good money for White Noise. Tavatak has been well back for Alan Sharrock, and the boys don't mind the chances of Maria Farina in this year's Easter Handicap. Team race number 7 on the card, the Trelawney Stud Championship Stakes. Group 3 over the 2100, Stephen, a well-backed favourite here.
Yeah, RB, $3.50 we posted on Wednesday, Thaddeus, now $3 flat, counts for 50% of the hold. In front of Desert Lightning at $4, original quote 3.8. Chevelle Dior, $5.50 out of turn to 6 with a weight of money on the 2. Texas double figures at 10. Armino at $11 off a Shauna at 9. I'm a Rich Girl, the only other firmer outside the favourite RB is number 11, I'm a Rich Girl, 16 to 13. Jafira, 13 out of turn to 14. Malfi Rosa at 16 and McGrath at a $21 price. So, look, overall summary, almost one-way traffic. Number 2, RB, 350 into 3, a significant firmer. But I'm a Rich Girl's the one horse I've identified in that middle range at a $13 quote.
Yeah, okay, BP, well, there's an obvious race to have a look at, and that's the Manawatu Classic, where these two favourites clashed last time, and RB was very impressive, and maybe a Queensland sort of trip beckons for this horse.
Yeah, I'd say Queensland is on the cards for a number of horses in this race, which we have seen over the years, and you know, we go back to last year's race, which paved the way for Pinarello to head to Australia and of course win the Queensland Derby. I'd say if anything runs well in this race, let's say top 3, top 4, and up to expectations, they'll be on a plane. But yeah, look, with what we've seen here in this race in the Manawatu Classic. Gee, first of all, the third horse, Chevelle Dior, I mean, she's covered an enormous amount of ground to finish into 3rd position. She had no right to be able to finish that close to them, and how she's run into 3rd position. We all saw her big run when finishing 4th behind Sakura Girl, who was the Oaks favourite, and with how she ran in the Sunline Vase. Gee, she just needs to get a little bit of cover in the race, and she can win this. She can win this race, Chevelle Dior. No doubting that with how she's run behind the 2 big guns there. I think that's the right reference, because even the horse that runs 9th in Jafira, gee, if it pelts down with rain, that horse came home in the fastest last 200 in the race. Never looked like getting warm, did it, until the concluding stages of that race to come home quickly. If the rain arrives, well, he's a chance as well. I really am firm on that Manawatu Classic form around those first 3 across the line, and maybe a bit of Jafira.
There wasn't much between those top 3, Paul, to be fair. Though you could throw a blanket over them at the finish, so it's going to be a tricky little betting race, isn't it?
It is, and the boys have pretty much thrown a blanket over those top 3 in the market as well. So we're looking like, well, according to the bookies, we're going to sort of see almost a replay of what we just seen there. As BP said, I really like the Jafira. But I'm a Rich Girl. I see we've taken money on I'm a Rich Girl, and I thought her last start was super impressive.
She won't mind a bit of rain about either.
No. Was this at the Bay of Plenty at Tauranga?
Looks like Pookie to me from here.
Was it Pookie?
Yeah.
Oh, and was this a rating 65? Yeah. Up again. And I just had to wait for an age to get a wee bit of room. Powell just absolutely ran away with this one, but have a look at I'm a Rich Girl, finished this off. She came home very, very quickly, and with a little more luck would have been a lot closer. So I can understand the money coming for I'm a Rich Girl. Super run here.
Yeah, well, she was strong to the line, Steve, here. I'm a Rich Girl, and a wet track will be in her favour. It's been a move at odds. Yeah,
she's always had promise ever since she performed okay as a juvenile, and then Look, she's been in and out as a 3-year-old for whatever reason, but look, I'm not totally surprised, but I don't think she'll start any shorter than in the single figure range. I think there's 4 or 5 that deserve to be in front of her. But like you say, it's always a level of the wet track, and she looks one horse that may perform better than some of our rivals. But look, I was taken by Armenio. We'll go look at this last start maiden win. I thought this was very impressive at Tauranga. You see here, went out very hard in front, but kept up a really strong gallop right to the finishing post. You see there, now that's open class to the 600, last 600 par times there. So just fraction below open class to the 600, 35 and change for the last 600. Look at the class rating. Well above par, 3.7 lengths above standard, which was maiden class. I love the second and third horse. I think they're really good gallopers. So the form reference is strong. Armino was first time right-handed here, Armino. Beautifully bred. The son of Fastnet Rock out of a Group 1 winner. Look, the blinkers were added that day. I went back and looked at his last 2 or 3 runs leading into that maiden win, and he was just a little bit green. He found the IG at New Plymouth. He was shuffled back along the inside part of the surface, and he was a little bit off his wrong foot, left and right down the straight, but they took him right-handed, blinkers added. He's drawn barrier 1 now. I don't know if that's going to be an advantage or disadvantage. Who knows? But Sam Spratt is the right jockey to get this horse out. I think he leads again. He'll give a fright. He will give a fright. Track conditions a bit of unknown. Probably would have preferred to see it somewhere in that better side of soft. But look, if he's going to start in that middle teens, which he's heading, because he has been a little bit of an easer, 9 out to 11, I think he's the play. I'm willing to take the risk that he'll handle the off-track. The progeny of Fastnet Rocks don't mind a little bit of fire out. He's going to put bad luck out of the equation because he's going to go forward. And I just see a sense of timing, just coming through the right race to stand up to black type. Yeah, and if he finds that middle range and that teen price, I think he's a 1/3 play.
Sam Spratt going well too. He's riding a fair few winners.
Yeah, she is. Look, we know she's a good jockey to follow on the right horse. She gets them out of the machine. She takes bad luck out of the equation on many of the horses.
Yep.
Yeah, she's versatile. She can go back, judge the tempo, blend into the race at the right time. But we know her best asset is coming out of the machine on a horse that shows tactical speed, and she's a hard horse and jock to catch.
BP Texas, I just haven't seen it since the Derby, but has been a winner on the track at Pookie and around that $10 mark. It was impressive the start prior to that Derby. It wasn't bad in the Derby in saying that.
Yeah, finished into 9th position, and of course that's always the key, that last sort of key lead-up race for those trying to get in by winning on the 65 on the same day as the Avondale Guineas. And I mean, we've spoken for this period of time, we've even spoke about the horse who won the Avondale Guineas, and that being Desert Lightning, who've of course then finished second in the Manawatu Classic. He's been beaten in the Derby. Look, he's deserved of a strong prospect in this race, isn't he, Desert Lightning? I know there's always been the queries of him seeing out a distance, but look, he's proven himself here at this venue over 2,100 metres. I think he's right in the race. I guess there might be a little issue with it gets out beyond a 7 again with him, because he's in an unknown zone if it gets out to that heavy bracket like a number of these horses might be. But yeah, Texas gets the services of Opie Bosson as well for Nick Bishara. Has to be in the race. Look, I can't get away from the Manawatu Classic form overall. I think that's a very good reference around those 3 horses that competed so well in the race. And if you are looking possibly a little bit further ahead, you'd be looking at horses that are possibly heading to Brisbane and trying to identify a couple. And I know that you guys have released some markets around the Queensland Derby and what have you, and maybe punters might be looking that way. And I think Chevelle Dior is a horse that will be looking at getting her way across to Tasman. She just seems to be one of those horses that has a bit of Brisbane about her, and I didn't mind her. I thought she was a possible bet at the $6. And yeah, Jafera, I keep coming back to Jafera. If it rains, and it really does rain, and it pushes out to sort of 8, 9, 10, he might be a top 4 bet.
Yeah, 100%. Do we step away from Chevelle Dior? What are your thoughts on Chevelle Dior on that potential wet track, BP?
Yeah, hey, look.
But unknown. Look.
Yeah, again, yeah. I mean, all our selections could change if the rain really does come, doesn't it? And we will be looking for horses and breeding to see if it can suit horses. So, look, at this stage, with where we are now, if you're watching it on Friday, the track's a good 4, and it hasn't rained yet. So, she is a bet right now, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she is.
Out of keeper mare, so
Yeah.
There's a bit of pedigree to suggest it might go through a bit aqua.
Paulie, where are you going here?
I'm with the bookies here. Arby on top. Yeah, I really like the look of them. But as BP said, Jafira, tomato. If the rain comes, I'm on. Well, I'm going to have a little stab anyway. I thought that finish in the Manawatu Classic was super.
Yeah, no, 100%. $14 is probably worth a crack. And Steve doesn't mind the chances of Armino giving a bit of a crack out of maiden grade. Guys, race number 5 on the card is the Stephanos at Novara Park Champagne Stakes, 1,600 metres for the 2-year-old, Steve.
Best bet runner sits with number 1, To Catch a Thief. $2.70 trading Friday morning, off a peak of $3 Wednesday afternoon. In front of the Princey one at 4.5. Lock Katrine at 6.5. There goes My Hero at a $7 quote. Chantilly Lace also comes out of the size at 7.5 as the favourite does. Double figures around Distinguished at $14. The Matador at 15. Best of the rest is He Reigns. The Maidner at $26. So, look, again, pretty much on the page to the 3-year-olds over the 2,100 metres. They're very much keen on the favourite, and that's where the money's gravitating towards.
Yeah, no surprise. Probably BP. Size Produce, probably the form race to have a look at around To Catch a Thief, and also Chantilly Lass coming out of that race. But boy, To Catch a Thief would deserve a bit of success, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he would. Look, he's one of my horses I want to follow for next season. I am really with this horse. I think he's a good horse in the making, is this runner in To Catch a Thief. I would be concerned if the track conditions start pushing out. That's been the one thing we've heard from the camp as well. We go back to the day that he was scratched. Matamata Breeders' Day, of course, he was down to run in the slipper, wasn't he? And the track condition got out to a heavy and they decided not to run him. So that would be a query if the track is to get out to that heavy nature for him. But on his run, and even the 5th horse in Chantilly Lace, that's Group 1 form moving up to 1,600 metres. I do want to run a horse past you here, and it sort of correlates to what happened 12 months ago. Now, Lock Katrine is a horse who ran 3rd at Ruakaka last time to the races and was actually really good, was weaving and was unlucky in that race. Now, if you go back 12 months ago to the same race that Lock Katrine's competing in, there was a very unlucky horse by the name of Sharp and Smart who finished 2nd in the same particular race at Ruakaka and then arrived at Pukekohe 10 days later to come out and win the Champagne Stakes. I'm not saying that Lock Katrine is Sharp and Smart, but I am saying it's using the same form lines progressing into this race when going from 1,300 metres up to 1,600 metres, and was also very unlucky. And I like the way that she's got through the line. I'm happy to side with her. I think she might be a chance in the race with what she was able to show there for Daniel Miller.
She had a conga. Remember her? She was a good mare, BP. And see, Paul, good run. Drossens aren't going bad either. So yeah, might be worth a bit of an each-way go.
I think so. Look, they are rolling the dice, aren't they? And look, so many here because they're pushing up to 1,600 metres. It's almost a fact-finding mission towards next season. But I like her. I think she was a horse that was beaten in the concluding stages here, but she didn't give up, did she, when she was beaten by Quintessa on her debut performance. I'm certainly wary of what she might be able to produce in this race.
Okay, interesting. Look, Paul, the other race we want to have a look at is the Avondale Maiden. I think the first 4 come out of that race, and the second favourite finished 2nd in the Princey one. This looks reasonable form for a race like this, doesn't it?
Certainly does, and this race was won by There Goes My Hero, obviously a Foo Fighters fan somewhere. And I really liked the ride here. I thought Sean Mackay rated this There Goes My Hero perfectly. And then, look, there's nothing against the bookies, and I understand how they've gone at the top of the market, but the 2 I like are Lock Katrine, that BB's just mentioned, and There Goes My Hero, who I thought was really, really good here. So, look, got there in the end, and I think if the Princey one had run straight, would probably have got there. But I just like the way that Mackay rode There Goes My Hero. So, watch him.
Both looked a bit green, Steve, to be fair, both of them. What do we make of it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of... I mean, straight after the race, the Princey one looks obvious on the eye to say, I should have won, but the winner did a lot wrong. Hit the front about the 300 metre mark, and was a little bit lost and changed legs. I see they've added blinkers for this assignment on Saturday, which, look, I got no doubt they'll look to go forward, put it in the same spot profile when it won last start, be in the first two, maybe hold that leading position. There goes my hero. And yeah, I agree. Look, on figures, it's not that inferior to what the favourite produced in the size. Maybe 1.5 lengths inferior. So you weigh that up in terms of the price. You've got There Goes My Hero, roughly around about a 14% chance. And the favourite, it's hovering around that 35-36% chance. So I think the disparity between the one and what it's trading at currently, V number 2, I think the value's around the 2. I really do, because it puts itself in the race. The blinkers are added to just try and smooth what it produced in the last furlong or two in terms of greenness, etc. Sometimes we look away from the obvious. It's a race winner, and a lot of these horses have not done that yet. And we know, and we see it over the season, that race day form and race day winning form as juvenile is vital. So, look, I think the edge is around the 2 currently if I'm assessing it versus the favourite.
Okay, what do you make of the Princey one, BP? Because, gee, the money's been on, and look, he did a fair bit wrong up the straight. $4.50 second favourite, the Princey one.
Yeah, and look, there is a really good reputation around this horse that she can gallop, and that was off the back of her trial, where she, before her first day start to the races, her trial was immense, and Bossum was aboard, and it was just a case of where does she line up, let's just start loading up. Well, you know, people loaded up and it finished third, and then it's come out and it's done a few things wrong there and it's finished into second position. So I think 1,600 metres is clearly going to be all good for her. She's bred to be able to go that further distance. Is this runner in the Princey one. Opie aboard, so he's back on board. He was on board when the horse was defeated first time of asking. So, yeah, I don't want to drop her. Look, if you are talking about There Goes My Hero as a race winner, you'd have to say Chantilly Lace as well as the other horse that's a winner and bounces out of the Group 1 when finishing into 5th position. That was a really good run over 1,400 metres. That run tells me that 1,600 metres is going to be no issue for her. She's won on a soft 6, so if the track starts working out from good 4, that's all good for her as well. She also becomes a smoky in the race if you're working on the same theory as There Goes My Hero.
Okay, so who are we having a bet on, BP? Maybe Lock Katrine and Chantilly Lace by the sound of it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, and I've spoken at the start about To Catch a Thief, and his runs and his performances have been very good. So, yeah, this one's a bit of a puzzle for mine. I do like the 9 and the 11. I think in Chantilly Lace and Lock Katrine, they look bets with where they sit at the moment. Where are they? $6.50 and $7. So maybe a little split bet on where things sit with them. You mentioned Lock Katrine and Congo. Well, of course, that horse won all its races on heavy surfaces. So if the track pushes out into that wet bracket, well, that's not going to be a problem for her as well. So, yeah, look, I'll have a split bet on the 9 and the 11.
Okay, Paul, where'd you land?
Yeah, almost
Sounds
with
like
BP.
you're similar. Yeah.
I really like the look of Lock Katrine. I thought she had a wee bit left in the tank as well last time, so I think stepping up to 1,600 metres will be no worries whatsoever. A little fixed Quinella, Lock Katrine, and There Goes My Hero, $25 at the moment.
25, go for the $25. Are we potting? We're not potting the favourite here, Steve, are we? We're
oh no, certainly not.
We're not potting the favourite here, Steve. We're just saying
based around the price.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a bit of a lottery. A lot of these 2-year-olds are going to be hitting a wet track for the very first time. So whether you're prepared to take the 270 on that basis, yeah, look, I think there's a bit of wiggle room, depending on the volume of money that continues to fall on the one where his bottom price may be, but I don't think he's too far off it, and that's why we're kind of speaking a few around it.
Okay, let's head down south, team, to Riccarton before we start. Steve, what are we going to be doing on a track down there tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's come up a heavy 10. Look, the rail's out 4 metres. The track's on the quick backup from 7 days. We know this time of the year, Riccarton, it's a very popular track. They have 4 or 5 meetings within the space of 6 or 7 weeks. So a heavy 10 currently, and I don't think it's going to come back anytime soon. There's showers forecasted today. A little bit better tomorrow, but still the odd shower in the morning. So, yeah, I'll be playing on a heavy 10 in terms of form.
Okay, race number 9 is the Coca-Cola Canterbury Gold Cup Group 3 for the 2,000 over the 2,000 metres, option 609, and a nice betting race.
You're headed by times ticking, and a well-backed commodity as well. We talk about these horses on the quick backup on a rain-affected going, and number 1 times ticking ticks that box. $6 on Wednesday. It's been backed into $4.50 in front of Platinum Invader. Started at $6.50, got out to $7, backed into $6. Shares that second line with As a Thought. Vernon Me out of turn 8 to 8.50. Shares that same price with Perfect Scenario. Camperdown Pero 8.50 out of turn to 9 with Live Drama. Double figures around Second Thought and Burgie, $11 each of 2, and Lightning Jack best of the rest, drawn the ace for Kylie Williams at $15. So the two firmers at the point end of the market, number 1 Times Ticking, and number 4 the CD Raider and Platinum Invader.
He's a Grand Galloper BP as Time's Ticking, and that win in the Easter Cup was very strong. Lightning Jack and Perfect Scenario, who I don't quite know what to make of the run, but old Time's Ticking gets the job done, as he quite often does.
He did, didn't he? And it's a heavy track again. And at least we can identify that this is what's happening, and we can work off the heavy track form. And he enjoys it. He's won 6 times in this type of ground. His Time's Ticking. Look, the question mark, and the obvious question mark, is with him going from 1,600 metres to 2,000 metres. He was beaten over the 2,000 metre distance 2 starts ago when he bumped into Brando. And that would be, look, your obvious question mark with Time's Ticking. I don't think we question anything else about him, because he's a grand horse. He's won nearly the 10 races from 28 starts. So, and he gets through the ground, and look, he drops a kilo on that run, doesn't he? He carried 60 kilos that day. He drops to 59 kilograms. This is a super betting race, isn't it? Look, Platinum Invader's a horse who won the Auckland Cup and then was able to back it up by finishing 4th behind Brando, beaten 3 lengths. He can get through the ground. Look, he is a genuine Cups performer, isn't he, this horse, in Platinum Invader? And gee, I just don't want to drop him. I think he's a horse that now he's in the right sort of form to pick up another feature race, guys, and at the same time he's getting quite backable too with where he sits in the market.
$6 for Platinum Invader, Paul, and I see the money's arrived.
He's just come in this morning, I think.
Yeah.
Platinum Invader. When I looked before we came to the studio, he was up around the $7 mark, I think, $6.50. So now into $6, and I thought he just wound up wonderfully there at Awapuni. And I'm with BP. I really do like the look of Platinum Invader, and of course we saw exactly what he could do in the Auckland Cup. So he'll stay all day, and from an outside barrier draw, I guess they'll be looking to run, just back in midfield maybe, and then
Probably can run 2 miles, can't he? So it won't be 2,000, he could sit wide and still do it potentially.
No problems whatsoever. And just back to Time's Ticking, but BB did say 60 kilos, but the bulk of the field was carrying a significant amount, well, a lot less than that 60 kilos. So I really think that Time's Ticking is a super boat.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, the weight for age probably suits. Steve, one horse I want to mention or we'll touch on is, and it's on the quick backup, which we know you like, is Capo del Impero. It was an impressive win, and it won't mind the track conditions it strikes.
I thought this was a very good win. As you say, proven at 2,000 metres, which was last Saturday on similar track conditions. Just on raw figures, it was basically on par to what Time's Ticking produced on the same day. But I think the key is, yes, it's going up in weight, but it's negated by the horse that it's proven at 2,000 metres, a mile and a quarter, the question mark surrounding Time's Ticking. So I'm very keen on this. Again, on the quick backup, a horse that's going over distance on a rain-affected track. It's got to take the step up to weight for age. I concede that, but you'd say the majority of these horses are yet to tick that box as well. So I'm very keen on number 7, Capo del Impero.
You got it was a good one. You got As a Thought in your numbers. You're a fan after last start.
Yeah, I certainly was. That Riverton Cup win was very good, and As I Thought was runner-up in this race last season to Prix de Feu. So you'd have to have As I Thought in there somewhere. I'm looking at Vernon Me. I'm looking at Vernon Me.
Well, yeah.
And look, it's a wee bit of an enigma, really.
Yeah.
If he runs to the form he was shown when he was running second to, Coventina Bay and a couple of Group 1s last season, then he's right in this. He probably wins, but we just haven't seen that sort of form over the last few months. So I just don't know where to place Vernon Me.
No, I see Marshy snuck him down, Vernon Me, BP. What do we make of his chances?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's just trying to win again, isn't he? I mean, that's one thing with Vernon Me. He hasn't won since he won the Matamata Cup in 2021 for Vernon Me. So that's a rather long time between drinks. But I guess you can then counter that by saying, well, he has raced in Group 1 races in that period from when he did win the Matamata Cup to where he is now. And of course, 3 Group 1 placings at weight for age level through last season. He hasn't quite found that same form this season round, has he, when he's competed in those better races? But look, maybe on a wet track and just that slight drop back from where he's been racing, he could be a horse that rediscovers it again. I'm very cautious of where he sits in this race and what he's done in the past. His past form really has him favoured in this race, doesn't it? I mean, with those 3 Group 1 placings, but he's just not quite in that form right now, so hence why you're getting $8. I think you need to keep him safe in your quaddie.
Yeah, okay. Well, what are we going to do here in the Gold Cup, BP?
I like Platinum Invader. I think things are tracking well for him. The way that he won his Auckland Cup and then he's gone back in distance to 2,000 metres. He was good through the line. He's got wet track form. Ryan Elliott, as we all know, is having an outstanding season, and so is the trainer and Lisa Ladder. So, yeah, I'll go with Platinum Invader.
Paulie? Don't tell me you're going to echo his sentiments.
We're both on, boy, oh boy.
Here we go.
Platinum Invader really does have to carry a wee bit of weight this said day, with me and BP on.
I don't know about the heavy track, a genuine heavy 10 with that horse. I mean, his heavy track form on paper was a long time ago. He struck that Alpuni shifty track last start and ran accordingly.
Ran well.
But,
sure.
yeah, I mean, that was, I reckon if you asked the connections what track you wanted, they'd be thinking somewhere no worse than a 6, but anyway.
Okay, well, there is money for Platinum Invader, 7 to 6 just this morning, so watch with interest in that race. Race number 8, gentlemen, New Zealand Bloodstock, War Step Stakes, 2,000 metres for the 3-year-old fillies, Steve, and interesting market here, and a lot of them coming out of that run last start there. What was it, the Air Freight Stakes? Run us through this market.
Yeah, top 2 Quinella that race, which you touch on, Thaddeus. Luella Christina at $4 off a peak of 4.2, and Miss Layla $5.50 into 5. At this stage, they're matching dollar for dollar, maybe slightly number 2 in front of Miss Layla, but not a huge amount. Inflamed in that third line, $6.50 out of full point to 7.5. Double figures around Almanetti at $10. Family Ties $11, hasn't budged since the opening call. Miss Dunsford at $12. Betty Spaghetti, we always touch on this horse, the money gravitates on the working week. Softens up on race day, but 14 to 12. She's a con. Last start maiden of the week, 11 out to 12. Doddle at $15. She has the same price with Generation Joy. Best of the rest is Madame Giselle at $21. So again, they're coming back at this pointy end of the market. Recency bias possibly. But Luella Christina, Miss Layla, who Quinella the feature race last Saturday, 4v5, are taking the majority of the cash.
Yeah, no surprise, BP, and it's an obvious form reference here in the Air Freight Stakes, and most of them at the top end are coming out of that race. But Miss Layla was strong.
Wasn't she? It just would not be denied. And you would have thought right here, as they're turning for home, Miss Layla, who is in that front position, and Luella Christina is about to present off the back of a good run in the race, and you're thinking, boy, oh boy, things are looking really good about here, because Lammas hasn't gone for his horse yet, and she's just about to start building, and gets alongside, and you think this race is done here, but boy, Miss Layla just does not want to give up, and just keeps on giving and giving and finding and winning around that $20 quote. So a courageous win from her, and I think that's why she needs to be respected again, because of just how she's fought through the ground over 1,600 metres. With the way she's won that, 2,000 metres is going to be no problem at all. Look, Luella Christina as a horse, I think, is on the way up. She is a horse that has the breeding, and she's already got important black type at the highest level next to her name. So she looks like a horse that will appreciate 2,000 metres as well. So that looks to be the right read, doesn't it, with what we've seen with those two horses, and it makes it hard for those horses in behind to maybe try and beat them unless they improve again with more distance. So, yep, that's the right guide.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, can you see anyone turning the tables on the top 2 off the back of that replay?
No, I think Luella Christina goes one better this time. Yeah, like BP, I thought, here we go. She's going to go right over the top here.
She would, yeah.
but credit to Miss Layla. She just kept fighting and thoroughly deserved the win. But I think the extra distance will suit Luella Christina, so I'm happy to jump on.
Yeah, okay. There's only one horse. Well, we'll say one horse. The horse that brings a slightly different form line, Steve, is Inflamed. It was a good last win at Riverton in the rating 75. And the Andertons, when they travel, well, they've had plenty of success at Riccarton, as we know.
It was a good win. Probably has to improve a couple of lengths to what the top two produced last Saturday at Riccarton, but it's always shown promise, daughter by Gibberlines, and you'd say on pedigree, heavy track, probably no dramas. Also the extra distance, 16 to 2,000 metres for the very first time. Look, she deserves to probably sit in that third, fourth line, but there will be a gap between her and the top two in the market. She has been a notable drifter in the first 24 hours of trading, so whether that continues to remain to be seen. But yeah, I probably have her somewhere in that 4th, 5th line of betting. It's just hard to see how she can progress from a 16 to 2,000 against those top two in the market, but I do respect her. The other one, and you actually pointed this horse out to me during the week, Thaddeus, was Family Ties.
Yeah.
Wasn't seen since the Oaks. Obviously just didn't get the trip of the 2-4, and there was a hard run Oaks that day at Trentham, so they freshened her up. Obviously she was a run short because there was no money for her last Saturday over 1,600 metres. She got back from a wide gate. You see her flush to the outside in a race that was kind of dominated in a day that was dominated close to the rail. I think there was 3 or 4 lengths off the rail that you had to be in terms of superior ground, but she recorded the fastest last 200, I think 12:11 for the last furlong, which was the best of the race, Family Ties. I think she's probably got as much improvement out of anything in that race last Saturday. We're heading to the War Steps, so it might be a nice little training feat if they can get that over the line, because I kind of feel that she was a run short last Saturday and they primed her for this race on Saturday.
Yeah, it was my feeling, BP. I think she might have been Oaks' favourite at one point, Family Ties.
She was. I think after she won the Prelude, didn't she, out of Taranaki, where she did win on that occasion and put herself right into the reckoning for the New Zealand Oaks. Look, there's a lot of chances here outside of those top two horses, isn't there? And maybe a great race to go exploring for top 4. Look, I will throw She's Con into the mix. The horse we did identify as our maiden of the week. I think a horse at the top 4 price sits at $3 currently. Look, she's been slow away in her last 2 starts. She's got a barrage where I hope she can at least get away with them and be, not too far detached and can be closer to them. She'll get through the wet track conditions. Really keen to see her if she can make that step up from her maiden win to this grade over the 2,000 metres.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That maiden of the week, that was impressive on the eye, was She's Con. And if they've got plans for Queensland pops, should be want to be showing up here, I would have thought. Paulie, summation of the race, where are we going? How are we attacking the War Step this year?
Luella Christina on top, but I'm going to give Doddle another go.
What happened to it last time?
Look, just didn't look right. I'm not sure, so I'm willing to forgive. Gets the ace draw this time. I think Tina will be able to position her sort of a lot more handier. And
she's facing the breeze, wasn't she? I don't think it was the best of rides from
No.
Tina. She gets another opportunity on the horse on Saturday, but she
If you
drew
took
barrier
$5 or
three.
$6 last time, you sort of want to be having a little bit on it.
It'd be
15 or
frustrating
16.
punters if it did get over the line, because she was one of the better back runners last Saturday.
Yeah.
But she was 3-4 wide from a decent marble. Had to cover ground and she was gone at the top of the straight, so she's better than that.
Okay, you're on Luella Christina though. Think she's going to turn the tables?
Yep.
Okay, I reckon they're cooking something up with Family Ties. That's my little feeling in the race. Not that I put my opinion in much, because it's not generally worth a heck of a lot. Okay, team, we better get to a best bets time. We've managed to get through 5 races. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes to do all this. Pops, where'd you land for your best bet this week?
I'm going to go north, and I'm going to go to race number 2 of the program, and I do like Johnny. It's a horse that is fresh up, loves performing fresh up, does this horse. Has won 3 times in that state, and we know that he is an extremely fast horse. Now, things didn't quite go his way when he's tackled the Genuine Company this time round, and he's always had a horse that's gone with him in terms of the speed. I just wonder here, with 4 kilos coming off the back, that he is fresh and ready to go. We haven't seen him publicly at the trials, but he might be just ready to unleash, and if it does get wet, that won't be a problem. So I'll go with Johnny in race number 2.
I like it. The speed machine, BP taking a bit of a shot at the stumps around Johnny. Paul, what have you found for us this weekend?
I'm also at Pookie. I'm going to race 3, and I like the look of Sprocket Rocket. Look, has had a couple of trials to prepare for this, and her only race day start, I think it looked better than it was. She was third that day down at Woodville, and the horse that ran second at Woodville, Bell's Echo, has gone on and won numerous times since. And as BP mentioned at the start of the program, there's a flying South African on board this time, Warren Kennedy.
Yeah, okay. I think they're George Simon's favourite colours, aren't they, Steve? The yellow and pink halves. BP, you'd agree? No comment. Right, moving on swiftly. Steve, best bet, please.
Yeah, again, I'll go to Pukekohe. You don't have to wait long. Race 1. The rating 75-2-1. Horse on the quick back up, which I've kind of gravitated towards for many races in terms of form reference. Number 4, Eyes Only on Me, back from Australia. Nigel Tiley does the polish. Comes out of a very strong 75 last Saturday at Te Rapa. It got back from a wideish gate, produced the fastest concluding sectional 6.42 splits. Back to its home track, step up in grade. Look, heavy track, a bit of an unknown, but it does get the best usage of the track being race 1 on the card. So that's my best play of the day. Number 4 in race 1, Eyes Only on Me.
Yeah, it was a nice run at Te Rapa, resuming last Saturday. On the quick backup, as you say, Paul, what do we need to know before we get out of here? Wrap it up for us.
Don't forget our Twitter poll.
Yes.
Just head there, vote for the horse that you want to be boosted, and leave a comment, and you'll go in to the draw to win a $100 bonus bet this weekend. It's To Catch a Thief in race 5 at Pukekohe, Arby in race 7 there, Cucullin race 5 at Riccarton, and Luella Christina race 8 at Riccarton as well.
Oh, Arby's going to be in there, isn't he? Surely Arby will get the vote with what we've seen in the betting. Who was the poll winner last week, do we know?
At JL Delhi 882.
Oh, good old JL Delhi 882. Very good. Bonus bet blitz on?
Bonus back blitz, yeah, once again. And I think with our best bets, Steve, BP and I have gone race 1, 2 and 3 at Pukekohe. So hopefully, if they don't win, they'll finish in the top 4. You'll get a bonus bet back. So, yeah, it's the first 4 races at Riccarton, Pukekohe, Hawkesbury and Mornington this Saturday.
Okay, and have we got through the show without mentioning no deductions?
Well, we've been talking about the weather and forecast and rain and the track and heavy, and so, you know, if you're up there and you see the clouds are coming, take one of those heavy trackers now, and you'll lock in your price, no deductions, no surprises right up until the end of July. Correct,
yeah,
yes.
The season, and right into those wet tracks. Very good. Okay, team, thanks, Pops, for your efforts. What are your plans tomorrow?
We're heading off to Pookie tomorrow. We've got Lee Thinnis on track with us as well. So, yeah, looking forward to getting up there on the weekend and giving you all the coverage, starting with the Punters Lounge. So, yeah, fair bit to look forward to over the weekend. No Warriors tip this weekend. I just want to see the lads
That's
get
what
it
we're
done.
waiting for.
I just want to see the dub against Melbourne Storm. If you are looking to have a bet on the league though this weekend, I do like the same game multi in the Cronulla Sharks game versus the Bulldogs around 3 players, and Will Kennedy, Ronaldo Militalo and Sione Katoa. So far, those 3 players have scored 16 tries of the 28 tries for the Cronulla Sharks this season, and they've also combined twice this season in round 4 and round 5 as a same game multi when those 3 players have scored. So that's currently at $5.
This is a regular thing now. Pops is a league tip, isn't it?
Yeah, big short ball.
Sure, you've been predicting short balls. Thanks, BP, for your efforts. Thank you, team. Enjoy your weekend. Paul. You're off to golf?
Hopefully. But once again, it's if the weather plays, yeah.
Maybe. Thanks, Steve. What are your plans tomorrow?
A busy weekend. Don't forget our Perney Sunday, Anzac Mile. That market is open. The undercard opens tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Okay, and those futures out for the 3 features at Hawke's Bay as well.
Yeah,
okay.
Check the website, tab.co.nz. The Triple Crown is open futures betting.
Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you to you again for joining us. We'll see you in 7 days' time on The Leg Up.